And now for our next guest. If you take a look at our next guest's Facebook page, the first thing you'll notice is a bright rainbow colored sweatshirt and a smile just as bright. But it wasn't always this way. Kenneth Felts, at 90 years old, recently came out as gay to his family and friends. After pretending being straight for almost all of his life, he's finally been able to be himself. Kenneth Felts never planned to come out. He planned to take his secret to the grave, but while isolated during the coronavirus pandemic, Felts began working on his autobiography, which brought back a flood of memories. And then he told his daughter, "Please welcome Kenneth Felts. I've had the opportunity to talk with him on the phone, and he is hilarious, very witty. He will tell you part of his story. But then, if you have questions for Kenneth, please ask the questions after he's done. Please welcome Kenneth Felts.
Okay, I'm unmuted. Hello, everybody. This is quite a pleasure to talk to a group, and what I've heard so far has really been interesting, and it has hit on spots that I have a lot of concern about, which is the youth who are coming out. I think I can start with just reading you the introduction to my memoirs, and then I'll fill it in some material after that. But at 90 years of age, eternity is whispering, no, loudly calling my name to enter the great black abyss. And as the end of my life approaches, I am finally able to proudly proclaim I am gay. A long time ago, when I first was aware that my lifetime erotic designation would be homosexual, I quickly buried that knowledge deep down inside myself and concealed it in the depths of my being. And I never dared to disclose the true identity to another person. Why did I decide to finally come out of the world to now, not back when it would have made a difference? Because at that time, had I chosen to announce that I was gay, I would have been had to contend with the scorn and derisions of the society around me, to be labeled a pervert or deviant and be marginalized as a less than human subspecies in a non accepting society and culture. I thought I would be hated and disrespected, and I felt I did not have the courage to battle all the prejudice and disparagements I believed my culture would have heaped upon me. I adopted this persona of straight because I did not think I had any other choice. Thus, when I was so much younger, choosing to be straight was exceedingly less difficult and less had the blessings of society. Consequently, I accepted my straight facade. My internal opposite life companion, my gayness, was relegated to the closet. Then again, I have no right to say I am gay. I have never participated in any marches or protests or organizations that promoted gay rights. I never lived with the gay community, shared in their communal activities, nor joined their support groups to promote equality. I had never felt the pain of being confronted because of the lifestyle I chose. I never lived in the fear that I would be arrested or assaulted because I openly revealed my sexuality. I have no visual scars or bruises to prove that I joined the skirmishes to protest or promote gay rights. I didn't choose to be gay. I only have the right to say I am gay because I was born this way. So much for a lifetime of denial and rejection of who I was, who I am. The gay movement consumed the youth who embraced it, but I stood on the sidelines and watched it pass by. Most of my life, I have been in combat with my gay side, never winning even the smallest skirmish. Too late in life, I became aware that those who really love you will welcome your efforts to let them know who you really are, and they will love you unconditionally. So, at age 90, I came out, but what I was doing was trying to rid myself of memories, deep memories. A year ago at this time, I was battling cancer, going through chemotherapy treatments. I had been hospitalized twice, and I did not expect to be living much longer. The last time the doctor sent me to the hospital, it was a I really thought that I would never come out again. But I continued with the treatments until I decided one day that living life would be better than living with this chemo treatment. So I stopped the treatment. Fortunately, the treatment had already worked, and I was cancer free at that time. And so I was still home and isolated. Then the virus started. I was isolated again. So I had had a personal trainer for 5 years who was gay, and he and I had gotten along well, although I'd never come out even to him. But he had often encouraged me to write my life story because after what I had told him, he thought would be interesting. So I did. I sat down and I started writing. And as I wrote, I brought up the memories of probably the greatest love affair I've ever had, the only one I ever remember, the one person that I have loved forever and have carried that on for 70 years. But I was sad one day, and she came to visit me and said, "Why are you sad, Dad?" And I said, because I should never have left Philip. And when she heard that, she said, "Who is Philip? What do you mean?" Because you never heard it before. Now, do remember, my daughter came out to me 25 years ago. And that was quite a shock to me. And I was in a very unusual situation. I'm a gay father who's in the closet talking to his daughter who's coming out of the closet and telling me she's gay and a lesbian, and I don't know exactly what I'm going to do about that. So I did what I have always done. I became the coward. I gave her the full religious treatment about why she shouldn't do that, couldn't do that, won't do that. It won't last. Well, she ignored me as a good daughter should, and went on with her life and married a beautiful young lady. And I have two grandchildren, thank heavens. So uh, that was a kind of a hard place to be with telling you one story and yet sitting there knowing that I was a gay person that had been out in the early days. Um, at any rate, I told her that story, and when I got to well, she accepted it very, very, very well that I was gay, and so did her wife. Um, so I thought, okay, I think it's time for me to let my other friends know since I'm out now. Never intended to, but here I am. So I posted a little article on my Facebook, which I thought was going to be to my friends, and unfortunately, it hit the wrong button and it became to the public all over the world. Um, the Denver Post somehow got a hold of the story and they wrote up a two-page color article on it, and that was picked up by the Oregon newspaper, Portland, Oregon. And from that, I started getting calls from various TV stations wanting to interview me, and so I was with Anderson Cooper and Oprah, and I don't know, I just can't believe at 30 or 40 different stations throughout the world. The one station in BBC told me after the show, I got a letter from the producer 2 or 3 weeks later that it had been the show of the week and it had garnered 1.4 million responses. I couldn't believe it. But that's I just can't conceive of that number. And when you multiply that by programs around the world, I know that my story has touched a large number of people, and that started giving me responses. People looked me up and wanted to talk to me, wanted to see me, wanted to be my friend. I was getting up to 200 messages a day that I was trying to manage. And as a matter of fact, I still have about 135 requests that I have been going through slowly, one at a time, trying to respond to them. But the story was out all over the world, and I've just been living with it since then. The story that really is the heart of the story is my time with Philip, because I was born in a very conservative Christian religious town, Dodge City, Kansas, 1930. My father worked for the railroad, and we were moved about every 2 years. So we went from Dodge City to Raton to Belen to Albuquerque to Winslow and back to Dodge City. And because we were moving every 2 years or so, I never stopped to make friends because it was so hard to say goodbye when I knew we'd be moving again. So I was kind of an introvert throughout that period. At age 12, we were in Raton, New Mexico. I'm sorry, Belen, New Mexico, which is a Mexican village with adobe houses. And one of my classmates then invited me home for an overnight, which I accepted. And in those days, in 1942 or 43, houses in Belen were adobe, and there was no central heat. The heat was come from a stove in the middle of the main room, and the doors of the other rooms would be open so that the heat would generate. That generator would float around through the rooms. We went to bed. We got on our each on our own side of the bed. We undressed into our underwear. And we got into bed. As the night went on, the heat, of course, grew less and less, and we just moved in towards each other. And pretty soon, we were very close together. Uh, so we found out some things about our anatomy that we hadn't really been too aware of before. Under here, we were in very close quarters now, and so that went on for a while. And then all of a sudden, of course, my father gets transferred again, and we're off to um, Winslow, Arizona. But at that point, I had to make a decision and I don't even remember the young man's name, but I had to make a decision what I'm going to do about this gay activity of mine, which my church tells me is so wrong, and I had uh, to make a decision. So it was either uh, talk to other people about it, or what I did was to hide it, to simply bury it. And I had no intention of ever giving it up. I mean, the first experience was phenomenal. So uh, that's how I got through. We're up to back to Kansas then, but I went through high school then in Dodge City, and then it was 1950, time for the Korean War. I was not going to be drafted into the army, so I joined the Navy. I went to California, spent the 4 years in the Navy, was in on a minesweeper in North Korea during many battles. Lots of pictures I have of the cannon fire from the shore landing all around our ship. And in that war, only 5 minesweepers were the only ships lost in the war. So we were the front line. We had to go into the beaches before a landing crew could go in and sweep the beaches clear of mines. So I did that for 4 years, and I went back and finished my degree at the University of Storrs, Connecticut, and then decided to go to California and uh, go to work there because I liked it, having been in the Navy there. And I was going to be straight. I had decided that that was the only way to go, just to be straight. I found employment with a place called Retail Credit Company. It's an insurance investigator. Uh, One of the young men in the group came to my desk after a few days and offered to help me fill out the forms that are required. I was still straight as far as I knew he was straight, but we really hit it off, and we started having coffee, and we started meeting before work and things like that. And eventually, then I was invited to his house, and I had dinner one night with them. He lived with his sister and her daughter, but we just it just it was a case of love at first sight. I Even though I was doing my best to be straight, I just couldn't resist him. It wasn't long before we had really figured out that we were both gay, and we it took me till my lease ran out of my apartment. I moved in with him, and so for a year and a half, Philip and I had a life together which was like no other, and has never been replicated in my life. Will never will be. It's a memory that has lasted me for almost 90 years or 70 years from then. But anyway, I could read a little bit about that section because I think it's kind of the heart of the book. Uh, so it says, as Philip and I got to know each other even more intimately, our inhibitions melted into the background, and we could be freer with each other when alone, free to express our love, free to express with pleasure, free to exchange kisses on the sly. Philip was the guide, I was the apprentice in this strange new world in which we were both novices. He was my leader. It was my first journey. I had no awareness of the heights we would reach, the joys we would experience, or the closeness we would feel with each passing day. Strange and wonderful sensations never before felt by me erupted throughout my body like an exploding volcano. That was, weeks and months then we were together, and then the really crux of the thing that this tore us apart. Um, one one Saturday night in Bellflower, California, where he lived, actually where we lived at the time, we had a very intense emotional sexual experience. Um, and the next day we went to church. He was in the choir, and I was in the pews. And during the service, I have no idea what triggered it, but either the preacher or something, uh, I was suddenly bombarded with guilt. It just came from the heavens and like a huge storm. And I'm sitting there in my pew watching him sing in the choir, and my guilt just grew by leaps and bounds right then and there. That what we had done was beautiful and wonderful. What my religion said it was that it was wrong and I should not have done it. I should never do it again. I was torn between these two extremes, and for the next month, I battled with myself on that. And at the end of the month, I finally said, I give up. I will leave Philip and I will go straight. That was a very difficult decision. Anyway, I did go straight. I went back to Kansas. I went to churches. I married a young lady. In 1963. I had a daughter in 1972. I got divorced in 1980. I started looking for Philip again in 1980, and no computers or anything then, so I didn't know how to find him. It was after I wrote my memoirs and was in Facebook that a lady in New Jersey said she would like to find Philip for me, and she did. Tina Wood does that kind of thing. She's a search angel, and she quickly found him, but he died in 2013, so there was no chance of us getting back together. Um, and he had a good life. He had a companion most of his life who died before he did, and then he was single the rest of his life. So in the meantime, then I could not come out. When I got divorced in 1980, my daughter was 8 years old. My ex had custody, but my daughter lived with me. I paid the alimony and child support, but I raised my daughter and was determined to stay in one location so she wouldn't be moved around like I had been when I was young. Um, I could not come out at that time because the court would not permit me to continue raising her if they knew she was at a gay home. So I did not come out during the time she was in school, grade school, elementary school, high school, and college. Um, it was not. Um, After that, I just felt it was no need or no reason to come out. I had no relationships. I had not had any companions or any friends who were gay, and I just hadn't given it much thought. So I was straight right up to the point where I pretty much ex- uh, opened myself up to everybody. Uh, since then, like I said, after the shows, I began getting letters. Lots of people wanted to come and meet me, to be with me, to marry me. I had a number of proposals, um, but the only one that really worked out was the young man that I am currently with. We're together. He is local, and he wrote me a letter saying that he would really like to meet me. Very unusual for me to do it, but I said I liked his picture anyway, and so I called him and we set up a dinner engagement on a Friday night at a Asian restaurant in Amigos, and I met him there. We were both with masks on, so we didn't get to see each other. Then we were seated. We had our mask on until the salad was served. Then we had a little quick ceremony, and we removed our masks. Apparently, it didn't frighten either one of us because neither one of us ran off screaming. At any rate, we had a very nice dinner that evening, and we talked and we talked and we talked. And as we talked, the place got busy and noisy. And so I finally suggested, why don't we go sit in my car? We went out and did that. And after we got in the car a short time, he reached over and took my hand and he held it. And I didn't pull it back. Um, we we uh, we stayed there for probably another hour talking, and I said something like, "I think it's time for me to go home." And he said, "Okay," and that was about it. And he got out of the car. He turned around about 2 minutes later and came back and knocked on the window and says, "I left my phone." He opened the door and reached in and got his phone. And while his head was in the door, he said, "Shall I follow you home?" Well, what more did I need? Of course. He followed me home, and this was Saturday night, and we talked most of the night, and he went home, but he came back the next day, and we've been seeing each other since then, and he's been become very close to me, and he's slowly moving in, as it were. So John and and I guess the thing that shocks most people is that I'm 90, which everybody knows. They can see it at when they look at me, but he's 31, and he looks younger, and he is very into old people, at least to me. And we just hit it off so perfect. He's kind of become my personal trainer now, and supervises my mile walk a day and the bicycle 45 minutes to an hour and a half, other exercises we do, and we're just I'm as happy as I've been. So I've been from the heights back when I was with Philip, down to the pits when I was had cancer and I thought I was going to die, back up to the heights of the mountains again now with I'm with John. Um, and we'll celebrate our 3 months this coming Saturday with a special dinner. Anybody have any questions?
You're an amazing person, Kenneth. I know there have been a couple of times when I spoke on the phone with you, and you're very witty and an inspiration. So, does anybody have any questions? You can unmute your mic and ask him a question. He likes them.
Oh,
No? Oh, come on.
that's all right.
Question. This is Ron, but I'm amazed. You are an incredible human being, and we all missed out on having you make a bigger contribution to life.
Ah,
But I'm glad you're happy now.
I am happiest I've been in many, many years. Thank you.
What's amazing to me is the short period of time that you have been out, how many people you've touched.
I've had quite a number of letters from individuals telling me that based on what they heard from me, they have come out. I've had a number of calls from young men or others who, mostly men, who were thinking of coming out and asked me, what they should do. Well, I can't tell them what to do. I can recommend, however, that the first thing they do is build up a reserve of people that they can turn to in case things don't go as well as they thought they would with their parents or others. And so just don't jump right into it, but make some plans for it so that if it doesn't turn out right, you won't get lost in the shuffle. I really feel terribly for young people who are coming out today. It was different kind of problem back in the 50s and 60s when I was thinking of coming out. In California, it was illegal totally. You could not be gay. If you got arrested for any such behavior, 6 months in the county jail, 6 months if you got rearrested a second time, they would send you to the penitentiary. The penitentiary gave you two choices of cure. You could have a lobotomy, you could have a castration, and that was it for California. And I did not want to come out into that kind of an atmosphere. So I had reasons to stay in the closet that I thought were valid for me. But today's youth face a different thing. They have to face their parent, and they sometimes forget that the parents have spent a lifetime building up to that child's future, that they have plans. They are looking forward to the child's marriage, the child to grandchildren, to jobs, to other things. And so the parents don't, I mean, it's difficult for them to give up all of their dreams to fulfill the child's dreams. And so the two clash quite often. And it sometimes takes a long time for them to reconcile the two different views. But children need to know that there is a possibility that they're going to be rejected, and so they need to something to fall back on if that happens. And that's why we have groups like here in Denver, we have the Center for LGBT, and they have a Rainbow Alley section just for youth, where they can go and, well, now they can't, but they can talk to people.
I have a question for you.
Go ahead.
How, if at all, have you reconciled your faith?
At first, I gave it up totally because I was in the church. I was leader of the groups. I was on the staff, things like that, and so I was pretty deep into it. Finally, I slowly began to examine it, and I that thing between faith and belief that I had was not based on fact. It was based on other people's statements. And I didn't know that because I had brought up the other way around. I sunk to the bottom and quit everything, quit the church and so forth. Then I got with a friend who kind of had some of the same feelings, but his feeling was that the church had been hijacked by the organized religion today, had hijacked the real church. And we set out on a Bible study, and we've come to our own conclusions about the things that are in there. So I have a faith of sorts. I have a faith definitely of a being and so forth, but I don't have much on Paul's Christianity.
Kenneth, first off, I'd just like to thank you so very much for telling your story, because it really means a lot to so many people. I'm probably about 20 years younger than you, but also spent most of my life in the closet. I know that it was very freeing for me once I left the closet, and it just really changed me in such a dramatic way, becoming a happier person. I changed my whole personality. I went from somebody that was very introverted and very shy and not outgoing in the least bit. And a lot of it had to do with the fact that I was afraid that somebody would find out the real me and not like me because of that. And what I realized when I came out, that not only did the people that I cared about like me and accepted me for being the person that I am, but on top of it, I made all kinds of new friends, and it's been a blossoming. And I think what you're saying of your story, it's been a blossoming for you, and I just so much appreciate you telling it.
Yeah. I could sum up my whole thing in 9 words. And that's when I came out, I wrote that I am gay, I am out, and I am free. And when you look at those 3, Gay was finally an admission of what I really was. And when I was able to say it to everybody, then that was a very freeing thing. Second was I am out, and I let everybody know. I mean, accidentally for some of them, but I did let everybody know. And I am free was the main part because I am suddenly not looking over my shoulder to see who's watching me, to see if I wear the wrong clothes, will I be considered gay? If I look at the wrong book, will I be considered gay? If I check out a book at the library and it has to do with gayness, will everybody think I'm gay as they walk out of the library and they'll be looking at me pointing, there's a gay guy, he's got a gay book. So the freedom was the main part, that no longer do I have to say, I'm not gay. I just happen to have these friends who are gay. Yeah. Now that was it. I'm out, I'm free, and I'm gay. I know exactly what you mean. And yes, I have been much more free. I was very conservative all my life. I've never had hair this long. It all came from the cancer. Everything fell out, and now it's all new. Um, the No, but it slipped right away. Gone, gone. Let's see, what was it? Oh, geez, I lost that memory. Oh well, maybe it'll come back.
That happens to all of us.
Okay.
But thank you.
Anybody else
Thank
have
you
a
for the story.
question?
Kenneth, just wondering, when can we get a copy of your memoirs?
I have no idea. I had a book published in 2013 that I wrote about a trader, an Indian trader here in Southwest Colorado. So I know the process I went through with that, and I'm not sure if I want to do that or if I like to follow Nancy maybe and do a self-publishing. My problem is not so much the self-publishing; it's the distribution. I don't know how one would get that on the market so that other people, it would be available to other people. That's what I'm having to look at now. But the lawyer who is doing my editing right now is probably going to have some information about that for me when I talk to her again.
Awesome. I can't wait to read it. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Anybody else? That's it? Come on. Is there anything else before we end this session tonight? Kenneth, is there anything else that you could tell us?
I think so. If I could find it here, I don't know. Well, all I can say is I wish I had done it many, many years ago, maybe when I was much, much younger, and I would not have faced quite the problems that I would have when I was in my teens and 20s if I came out at that point and in California. So I wish I'd done it sooner. I think people need to know that you're going to be surprised at the response. 99.9% of the response is positive. Just like just now said, people accept you for being truthful and being a person that I don't know, that they love me. I've had more love given to me since I came out than I got most of my lifetime. I just can't believe the vibes that I keep getting. All of the messages daily that come in have read things about me, and so I'm just happy as can be.
Thank you, Kenneth. You're an inspiration. You really are.
Thank you.
Thank you. Everybody, thank you for joining us this evening. I hope you enjoyed yourself. If you would like to know more about us, Outward Journey, go to our website or Facebook group. You can join our group. If you'd like to help us out by making a donation or volunteering, go to our website, outwardsjourney.org, and that's out, WORDS, .org, Outwards Journey. We will see you next month, Tuesday, Friday the 9th, for our Black History Month storytelling event. Thank you very much. And all of the speakers, thank you. You were amazing tonight. Thank you.